What's up, everybody? I'm Thomas J. Bellezza, and welcome to The Right Mindset. Today, we are actually going to go over a few things, but mostly we want to explore the advice from author Isabel Allende. I really hope I'm saying that last name right. Allende. Allende. Anyway, here's some advice from her. So let's, as we say at the top of the show, let's develop the right mindset. All right, if you're new here and or you've been here for some time and you're liking the content, please hit the subscribe button and the bell icon so you don't miss out. And of course, a big thank you and a massive love from my heart to yours for supporting the channel. Let's get into it. So today's lesson is advice from Isabel Allende. If you don't know who that is, you're going to learn a little bit today. All right. The reason we do this series is we spread light on those that have come before us, standing on the shoulders of giants, and we learn from the wisdom that is they and their their history. So, who is Isabel Allende? All right, she's a Chilean writer, okay, and who works sometimes contain aspects of genre magical realism. Right, she's known to write magical realism, and is known for novels such as *The House of the Spirits* and *City of the Beasts*, which have been commercially successful. She has over 20 books written. She was born on August 2nd, 1942. She looks good for 20. I'm really great at math. She joined the United Nations from 59 to 65. That's pretty exciting, isn't it? What is that? She's okay. She got married, had 2 children, and was hosting her own popular humor program on television from the 70s to the 75s. All right. It was in 1981 when her dying 99-year-old grandfather led her to write a letter that would become the manuscript for The House of the Spirits, which was then published later in 1982. So from in 81, she was inspired through the letters that she had sent to her grandfather, who was dying, and then boom, a year later, she made something of it. Let's explore some of her quotes, and then take the quotes and allow that advice to be utilized for us and learn something from it. Fear will not define me. Woo! Beep. You like that one or that one? Kind of like this one. But I want you to see her. I want her to be the focus. Okay. Fear is inevitable. I have to accept that. But I cannot allow it to paralyze me. Isabel Allende. All right. So what a powerful quote from someone, anyone, especially her, for the life she's led, from being a part of the UN to coming from Chile to where she has basically 20 books. She's had a full life. And I have to say, this comes with such a strength and a chance to look at our own lives. The idea of fear is inevitable. I have to accept that, but I cannot allow it to paralyze me. That's such a strong quote. And it's so good and so important to realize that we sometimes are controlled by that fear, right? That fear can destroy your career, it can destroy your purpose, it can destroy your dreams. And you have to think to yourself, are you afraid to write your book? Are you afraid to show your book? Are you afraid to publish your book, let alone ask people to publish a book through publishing companies? Are you afraid the story will be bad or that no one will like it? Because in reality, who cares what other people think? The thing is, do you love the story in you that you're telling? The story that's on that page that you're putting your words, right? Now, I will say this. After months and months of hard work, because a book takes time and you can't just write a book in a week, right? The book takes time, and you owe nothing to anyone when it comes to your creative endeavors. The creative endeavor of your adventure, your journey, your writing career is for you first. You have to write for you. You got a right to be the writer. And this is the thing. If you write for you, right, you got a right to be the writer that you have no control over. You were born this way and your mind needs to write. There's nothing inside you that says, no, I hate writing. I'm not going to do that. Your mind is constantly going, I have ideas. I have stories. You hear somebody talk. You hear a name. You see a location. You see a scenery. You experience an emotion and your brain instantly just builds a story because you're a writer. And you can't do anything about that. That's just who you are. You are a writer. And you should find the strength within you to allow it to be expressed. And it doesn't matter what other people think. It's your story. It's your brain. Yes, there are rules to writing. There are rules to the process. Obviously you want stuff edited. You want it cleaned up. But the variables to getting there are all for you. That's your dance. All right? Don't allow the unknown to hold you back from exploring the stories you need to tell. Be willing to try, and if you fail, try again. And if you fail again, re-examine the failure, adjust as needed, and try again. You are going to fail. That's a truth. And you are going to have chances to learn from that failure before you succeed. And success is inevitable if you continue to get up and try again. However, there is a theory that if you keep trying the same method, you're insane, right? And that's true. And that's why you have to reevaluate what's not working. If you've done something over and over and over again and you're getting the same results, it's okay to accept that something needs a change. We're not perfect creatures. My dog is a perfect creature, but that's besides. All right. And more importantly, don't blame others as much as you shouldn't care what others might think. You have to take accountability in your lack of effort, failure, and most importantly, the steps needed to take the steps forward to succeed. Be more than your fear. Be triumphant of your failures into success. All right. That is what advice. Fear is inevitable. I have to accept that, but I cannot allow it to paralyze me from Isabel Allende. Is really, we should all get something from her quote. Obviously I'm not verbatim what she was thinking, but that quote has such a power to say, there's so much that I'm afraid of, but it's worth the chance. You deserve to take that shot. This one's I like this one. The muse will show up. The muse will show up. What are they doing? The muse will show up. This is advice from Isabel Allende. Her quote is, show up, show up, show up, and after a while, the muse shows up too. There will be times you set aside to write, and those times you will be left staring at a screen filled with white or one word, or a few words. But you keep showing up on that day at that time for the block of time you set up to write. And it's okay if you didn't or can't write. It's about creating the habit to be there. Now, interesting thing about showing up over and over and over again is this. Sometimes it's about writing gibberish until it turns into rubbish and eventually makes sense. It's okay to write anything, even when nothing is coming to your mind. Isabel talks about the muse showing up as long as you are there waiting, but also participating. Which brings me to the fact that your writing sessions are not just about writing your story. It's about working on your story. Working on a story is not the same as writing the story. Can't get the scene to come out? Talk about the scene to yourself. Record yourself talking about it. Maybe explore the characters a little bit more by going over your notes, rethinking their process. Don't have notes? Write out some notes. about that scene in question. It's okay to do other things besides writing the scene into a novel. If you're not writing, it doesn't mean you're not working. Okay? Your job as a writer is to mold the story to your needs, not the story. Uh, the story shouldn't be molded to um, the way it is. Like, your story shouldn't control you. You shouldn't allow it to pull you through without any control. Yes, I know characters can talk to you and say, I don't want to do that. But at the end of the day, you're the writer and you have to take control in some situations, okay? And when you can't come up with anything, when you're having that blockage, it's okay to do other things besides writing the scene in the novel. It's okay to say, you know what, I'm going to just do some character development today. You know what, I'm going to call up one of my close friends who's also a writer, and I'm going to see if they are willing to discuss my story with them, and then I'll listen to them discuss their story with me. I just need to talk about it today. Working on your book is not just writing. Okay. And you are allowed to take that time during your writing session to work on your story in other ways. You're allowed to do research. You're allowed to read a book that inspired you originally to be reinvigorated. Or think about what scene should be, or what the scene should be, and try to explain it in one or two sentences. I do this often. Sometimes when I'm like, well, what am I trying to do here? I'll write out the one, two, or three sentence description of what that scene is, the same way I would do the main plot of the story. What is the main plot in its essence without all the jibber jabber? And I go, this is what that scene should be. And then I go, how do I make that scene come? And I work out the elements of each word in each sentence. Okay. The point is, do more than write when writing won't come to you. The muse dresses up in different methods, and so should you when it comes to approaching your novel. That was pretty solid. Whew. All right. Isabel Allende says, I need to tell a story. It's an obsession. Each story is a seed inside of me that starts to grow and grow like a tumor, and I have to deal with it sooner or later. You know, I feel like this is true for anyone who's born a writer. There's, like I said, you have a moment and it just becomes obsessive, and you can't sleep. You're up 6 hours past your bedtime, and you're just in bed laying there just looking into the darkness, and you're just peering into the story and seeing the characters come alive and the scenes working themselves out, and you're watching it like a movie, and it just becomes obsessive. And then when the next day you have two choices. You could either just keep thinking about it, or write it out. And it's important to just write those notes out. Writers are writers because we not only write, but because there's a need to write. And when we're not writing, we're thinking about our story and what we want to write. It's the curse of the scribe. People think we can shut it off or that it's a hobby for us, but writing is in our soul. We see, hear, feel, and taste the stories coming through us, either from our mind or somewhere else in the ether. And why should you hold that back from coming out of you? You shouldn't. There's no need to. It's who you are. Find ways to write so you can write, and allow yourself to be the writer you were born to be. It's okay if you're starting out or have been doing it a long time. Small baby steps if needed, but find the time to give your soul a chance to get the words out. It's okay to find your speed, your pace, your process, but try to find your speed, your pace, your process. And fun fact, I personally write about 60 minutes a day, 7 days a week. At times, that will turn into 4 to 5 hours throughout the day. Depends, but I have a minimum of 60 minutes. And I might use that time to work on several projects, giving each project 60 minutes to 90 minutes. That sounds like a lot, but I didn't start there. Okay. First, I gave myself an hour a week, right? And then I decided to dedicate 15 minutes a day, then 30 minutes a day, until I worked my way up to where I am now. The thing is, we might hear so-and-so, a famous author, writes X amount of words per day, and that's our goal. Let's write that. And it's like, no. If somebody writes 1,500 words in a day, your goal shouldn't be 1,500. That's too high. Your goal should be 300. It's 300, 500 words is a page. If you're doing double space, like if you're doing like an average page that would go in a novel, but you should be doing double space when you're doing your manuscript just so you could read it better. So, it might not be 500 words per page. It might be a little less. And if you could get a page done, that's amazing. If you can't, that's also fine. You're trying to find your speed, your pace, your process. And over time, you will get there, but you should start small. And when you find that small step easy, raise it a little bit. You don't have to jump over the mountains. I remember trying to show this person a technique, and I said, this is where you got to end up. This is where you got to start. And then I was like, why don't you spend 30 minutes working on the where you have to start? And I came back to them after 30 minutes, and they had been working on the where they should end up. And I go, what are you doing? And they go, oh, I was trying to do it that way to see if I could do it. And I said, yeah, you can't do it this way because you don't understand the process of doing it. Just because you see it doesn't mean it makes sense to you. You can't write the same words I wrote and just change the words, change the adjectives and the nouns and think that you did it because you understand it. The process will help you understand it. And they obviously had trouble learning because their mind was on how do I do it the best way, or the finished way, or the professional way, or the mastery, and not I don't want to put the work into the small way because it's my way or the highway, and that mentality will destroy your career, destroy you. You won't understand and learn. It's okay to not be good at something, but it's not okay to work to get better if that's what you want to do, because then you're going to just harm yourself as far as your career goes. And my hobby building started when I was a musician back in my hobby. I was a musician, and I had to create habits, right? And I never understood that when I was younger. And my grandfather was a musician, and my brother, and everybody. And I never understood the habit of practice. I never understood the habit of practicing with a metronome. I never understood the habit of stopping if you mess up and starting over and practicing. Because if you keep practicing the mess up and you just work through, you're just learning the mess up. You're not learning how to clean it up or perfect it. And when I first started, I was not even 11 years old, and piano and guitar, both of which I did stop, was taking me too long. Like I was like, oh, I'm not learning. I don't have any control. And I was very put off on it. And that was my first lesson looking back, as I got older, about perseverance. And I was too impatient. Now I am not as impatient. I like to work through the processes. And when I was 15, 16-ish, I picked up the guitar again. And what was the big difference? Well, I dedicated myself to putting in real time. What began as a way to fiddle on the instrument anytime I could, even if it was a few minutes before I had to run to the school bus, or I had to go to work, or whatever the case may be, or sometime before dinner and or a little before bed. I eventually started cutting out time for practice. What started out as a few minutes here and there eventually turned into 6 to 8 hours a day, which I broke up throughout the day. I would do like 30 minutes here, an hour there, another hour. It basically turned out I would actually wake up a little earlier for school. I would practice for about 30 minutes to an hour. Then I would get home from school, and I'd practice for an hour, maybe two. Then I would go to work. Or if I had to go to work that day, I would just go to work. And then after work, I would do the hour or 2 hours. Then I would do some homework, and then I would practice until I had to go to bed. But I could get 6 to 8 hours in, because it was more important to me to be a good musician than it was for me to do my homework, which explains why, I'm a high school dropout. However, I did retire at 27. Well, 27 from the music industry. And, now I have this life. All right. So I broke that time up, and I had a job, a girlfriend, and sleep. I didn't really sleep that much, but who cares? Yes, it took me about 2 years to get into the rhythm of allowing myself that time. So it wasn't like something like where I was like, I'm just going to do this time. No, I was like, let me Let me get used to this. And you think, well, how can you do so much time? Well, if you think about when you get home from work, how many hours of TV do you watch? Put that into perspective. Think about that. Next time you come home, okay, and you start watching TV, look at what time you started and look at what time you stopped and went to bed. All right. Think about how much time it takes you to like sit on the couch and relax. Or if you're doing something you're just shutting off, you're not right. People always like, oh, I don't have time to work out, or I don't have time to do this. And you realize, I think I have more time than I thought I had. But also the thing about me is that you can control what you choose to control. Yes, you will have responsibilities that you have to take into consideration. Like you have to pay your bills, you have to go to work, you have to eat, you have to shower. Please shower. But when we are passionate about something, it's up to us to sacrifice other things to feed the beast inside us. All right. Boop, boop, boop. Final thoughts. We all come from somewhere. We all have our troubles, trials, and tribulations. We all have our joys, loves, and successes in life. We all start and end at some point in time. It's up to you to make the noise while you are here. It's up to you to give all you can to the life you have now. Okay? Whatever your issue, find solutions. Even Stephen Hawking continued to give to the world his mind, his ideas, and his concepts. Even as his physical body deteriorated, he found ways to allow his mind to touch and change the world as we know it. At the end of the day, you are in control of what you choose to accept. You can hide in fear to take action. You can show up and take action. You can set free the obsession that is your passion to write and write. Hope that helped. Hey, next video in the series we're going to hear some advice from author Zadie Smith. Zadie, Z-A-D-I-E, Zadie Smith. I'm going to go with that. Zadie Smith. And take back our space to find our personal strength to become the writers we are, while eliminating the distractions that keep us from being true to the voices in our head. I mean, the characters in our head. All right. How do you find time to write your stories? Let me know in the comments below. And of course, if you want to learn a little bit more about improving your craft, right? Insight to the industry, and hear from other fellow authors about their journeys as a writer, please hit the subscribe, the bell icon, so you don't miss out. Whew. That was good. That's good. I feel good about that. And as always, keep developing the right mindset. See you next time. Bye.